What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6, Episode 7. Toldja. Yeah, so pretty interesting. Just, again, probably more of a just plot moving forward type of episode. No real big mysteries solved here. Still some good mysteries being built, but a lot of this focus around one, how Fitz and Simmons are going to get back to Earth, and then two, also Coulson or Sarge, I guess, and like kind of the chess match that's being played back at Shield. With Mac trying to get information out of him, while Sarge is also trying to basically take control of the situation because he feels like he knows what's best. To combat the strike and all of this. So yeah, I enjoyed both sides of it. I enjoyed the little kind of like I said, chess match basically, where Mac's trying to get the one up on Sarge. He's trying to find out what his play is. He's trying to find ways to push him a little bit. And I do wonder how much of that is going to get to Sarge. When he shows him who Coulson was and basically tells him, like, yeah, he was a leader and he valued life. And obviously that's not somebody who Sarge is. And I think a lot of that is down to Sarge has just lost so many lives. He doesn't care anymore. So, yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to play into what's going on and if that's going to affect Sarge at all. Maybe he does try to be a better person, and maybe he even sacrifices himself at the end because he realizes, hey, my life doesn't matter, if I can save all these other lives. I don't know. It's just kind of thoughts being put out there. But yeah, so just kind of interesting to see, they were planning on Jocko basically fire breathing everything down and breaking Sarge out, but of course they managed to stop that. Snowflake, we just sort of saw her in her cell. Didn't really do much. She just, when she saw Jocko was getting more sick, like you could tell she was kind of happy about that, and we found out why later. But then she was shocked to find out, oh no, they stopped him. She was just sort of there. She wasn't really contributing anything. And then the other guy, I don't even remember his name, but we didn't even see him, so don't know what's going on with him. But yeah, it was interesting to see what happens with these strike. They got two of them together. And of course, Sarge, something's going to happen because he has this look on his face like, oh, you got two of them. I guess you've outsmarted me. Clearly, that means that they've done something wrong. And then, of course, they combine and it starts to spread the stone-like stuff everywhere and basically nearly destroys the plane. And the only way to stop it is to freeze it. So, I feel like that's going to be useful later. I don't know how, but freezing things, I mean, if there's a way to freeze the main bad guy, is that going to stop it? I don't know. But yeah, it nearly cost them the entire plane. And then Sarge, of course, says, hey, let's make a deal and I'll help you save that plane up there. And so that's basically what happens. And the Toldja comes from Sarge kept telling him people are going to look to me at the end of the day. And then everybody looks to Sarge because he's the one that knows the most about all this. And I kind of wonder why this wasn't discussed at first. I get the fact that, yeah, Sarge and his team are bad guys. They're willing to do whatever it takes, and they've done a lot of bad things. And yes, they killed a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent in the process. Obviously, that's awful. But at the same time, you got to realize at some point, he knows what this is. And so why not utilize them? And then at the end say, all right, well, we've done it. Now go to jail for everything you've done. Like, you could do something like that, and basically betray them at the end, rather than not utilize them, not utilize their knowledge, think you know everything, and then nearly, cause a horrible situation which could have killed May and Yo-Yo up on the ship. So I don't know. I just felt like that was a little weird for them not to instantly jump to, let's try to work with them, and then in the end we'll arrest them for what they've done, instead of just, we'll just lock them up and try to get whatever information we can. And then, of course, everything with Fitzsimmons, them up in Kitson. The guy they picked to play the owner of the casino, same guy that played, his name was Trout. He was like the interim chief on Psych for a little bit. Perfect actor to play that role. Like, just such a douchey actor. And he pulls it off so well. And so whenever he walks in and he's the owner of the casino, I'm like, that's perfect casting. But ultimately, this one lady, she's got really red hair. Don't know who she is. I don't even think we know her name yet, but apparently she needed Earthlings to help her out, so she basically bribed / threatened the owner of the casino to give her Fitz and Simmons. And it was pretty interesting, I guess. I don't know what's going on with her. She says that some people stole some stuff from her, and now they're down on Earth. I don't know what that is. Uh, it might possibly tie into the main like plot and everything. Uh, she might end up being the bad guy, possibly the. I'm not gonna remember the name. Pachu. They didn't even say it in this episode, so there's no way I'm gonna remember it. But she might end up being the one who controls the strike, possibly. I don't know for sure. Kind of a toss up there. But yeah, she's definitely intriguing though. Like the fact that she did suddenly just, I guess noticing Fitz and Simmons and knowing that they're from Earth kind of helped her a bit. I don't know why specifically she needed Earthlings in the first place. But yeah, so she and Fitz and Simmons go and get the ship that Fitz was working on. They're gonna take it back to Earth. Enoch decides, peace out, I'm done. Okay, he's like, I'm gonna find a new home for my people. I feel his people are gone, right? Like, didn't Atara say that they were the last of the Chronicons, and he killed Atara? So shouldn't he be the last one? I don't know. I'm kind of confused how that works, but yeah, he said he's gonna go find a new home for his people. So I don't know. I don't know. Enoch again. He was just kind of a back and forth type of character. Like I liked certain things he did, but then I didn't like certain things he did, and I just never really truly cared about Enoch. I just had moments where I was like, ah, that's pretty funny, or Enoch, you did good. And then other times he pissed me off, so. I don't know. I feel like the writers realized we don't really have a point for Enoch other than just being a plot device, so maybe we should finally just write him off the show now, and that's what they did. I don't know. But anyways, that's it for this episode. On to the next one. See you there. And now episode 8, Collision Course Part 1. So obviously this is going to be a two-parter of episodes here. So a lot of this is building up to, I'm assuming it's going to be kind of an epic showdown between Sarge and S.H.I.E.L.D. more than likely. And S.H.I.E.L.D. trying to find a way, I think, to stop their battle from destroying a lot of innocent lives and Earth in the process. So very, very interesting setup, though. And honestly, one of the best parts about this episode is the constant, I guess, shift back and forth between who's the good guy in this situation, or are there any good guys in this situation? Because honestly, it just seems more and more like, yeah, S.H.I.E.L.D. is obviously a bad person, but Sarge is clearly not a good person either. Like, he seems to be just as much of a bad guy. It almost seems like he's using S.H.I.E.L.D. to attack S.H.I.E.L.D. It's almost like, I'm trying to think of a good way to put it. It's almost like they're both bad guys, but they're like in this epic duel against each other, and they're constantly trying to take each other out, almost, is what it seems like. So I don't even know if, because I was wondering if it was going to be something like, well, Sarge is not a good guy, but he's also not really a bad guy either. He's just kind of trying to stop this horrible force. But honestly, the way that S.H.I.E.L.D. talked about Sarge and like knowing who he is, it really makes it sound like there's something about him too that makes him makes him a bad guy. It's almost like two evil forces fighting each other, and S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of caught in the middle, trying to stop this one force that's set on destroying the Earth by working with this other force that doesn't care if he destroys the Earth to destroy the one that's trying to destroy the Earth. It's weird, and it's a nice setup though, because like, who do you root for? In this whole thing, like when Sarge is working with the team, you kind of want to root for him. You're like, yeah, go stop S.H.I.E.L.D. But then S.H.I.E.L.'s talking about what he did to her. Kind of like, well, maybe he's not a good guy. And then he turns on the team. You're like, oh my gosh, what the hell? So, yeah, it's a very, very good setup. Very entertaining to watch as well. Just the different moving pieces, with the team on the truck, with the bomb in it. And then the team flying in the Zephyr above with Pax and Jacko and trying to figure out what's going on and the moves they're making up on the ship. I liked it. It was a very interesting setup. And honestly, it's to the point where it really is kind of hard to tell who do you trust. When Pax is sitting there, he's like, look, I don't know anything of what's going on here. I really was inclined to believe him. And then all of a sudden, like, he turns and I'm like, oh, okay, he did know what was going on, that he was just playing. So whenever Snowflake, like, freaks out because, Sarge leaves her on the truck, my first thought is, oh well, she's distraught because he's leaving her behind. But then also I'm like, but she could just be faking that. Like she could still be a part of the plan. Like she knew she could get sacrificed, so this wasn't a surprise to her. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what the actual story is, and I think that's been one of the greatest parts of the season so far is they're telling us stuff, they're giving us clues, they're giving us parts of the mystery, and there are even parts where I'm sitting here thinking, oh yeah, I figured this part out, but now I'm even questioning that, and it really is keeping me guessing, like what's gonna happen, who can you trust, who's the real bad guy here. I don't know. And I'll definitely be curious to find out what Sarge's story is, what's going on with him. There seems to be a lot of build up to that. So it's got to be something intriguing. Like if it just turns out, oh, he's a clone or something like that, that wouldn't be very intriguing. But it's like the secret of who he is, why he and Coulson have the same DNA and all of this. Like there's something else going on here, and I'm really excited to find out what's going on. But yeah, so nice little setup though for next episode. You've got Fitz and Simmons with S.H.I.E.L.D on the ship. You've also got you got Daisy and May on the truck with Snowflake, and then all the rest of the team are up in the Zephyr, and now of course Sarge, Jacko, and Pax are in the Zephyr, probably about to take it over. And then very interesting at the end, little possibly foreshadowing to what's going to happen after this next episode, because I kind of feel like this next episode is going to be the showdown with S.H.I.E.L.D, because it doesn't really seem like she's the type of villain that if you don't stop her, you just work to stop her later. It seems like you stop her now or the world's doomed. So I feel like this is going to be the end of her story, but there's still more after that. And we see Enoch talking to this one guy who apparently, I guess they lived on the same world. I don't think he's a Chronicon, but could be wrong about that. But he's talking about trying to get all of their anthropologists together. And then we see the one bounty hunter guy is talking about, Enoch is a problem, but we need to deal with Fitzsimmons, and then talking about we have their minds because they put them in the mind machine, and saying I'm gonna go in. I don't know where all of that's going. Like I guess it could still connect to our main plot somehow, but I don't think so. It seems kind of different than what we're dealing with right now, because some of the stuff going on with why Fitz and Enoch were considered outlaws and the people that tried to hunt them down and kill them at the beginning of the season. It just seems like there's something else going on behind everything going on with Sarge and S.H.I.E.L.D right now that I don't know if they're connected or if it's going to be a different story that's going to take over once this battle is complete. If that is the case, if it's something that's coming after this battle, that'll be pretty interesting. But if somehow it's all connected, I'll be really curious to see how, because these show writers typically do a good job of writing an interesting and compelling plot that all connects. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what comes next, but we'll see. So anyways, on to the final of these 3 episodes and the conclusion of this 2-parter. I'll see you there in a sec. And finally, episode 9, Collision Course Part 2. So yeah, pretty good conclusion to everything going on. Very well wrapped up. Obviously, some loose ends to still wrap up as the season comes to a close. S.H.I.E.L.D is still out there, so she's probably going to end up being the main bad guy, but I kind of like how Sarge's story came to a conclusion. This whole idea of he is doing everything he can to stop her, even at the cost of people he knows. It really showed that he wasn't the main bad guy, but he still was a bad guy to deal with. And I like the fact that Jocko ended up coming over to help out. Snowflake is even kind of turned against him as well. And then, of course, he dies at the end, and I have thoughts about it. But anyways, brought to you by Wild Cherry Pepsi. So yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of this, just all of the different setup when you've got them heading over to the ship to find Fitzsimmons. Of course, S.H.I.E.L.D is there, and then suddenly she's not. You got Jocko sacrificing himself to blow up the ship, which I thought was pretty interesting and sad at the same time. I don't know, just Jocko's story in general. Like, he always seemed kind of like the big-hearted giant type of character, but doing that for the bad guys. And so whenever he was the one that joined the good guys, I'm thinking, oh, he's gonna die, right? Like, it was one of those where I saw it coming, and it still hurt at the same time because I didn't want to see Jocko go. He was a really good character in my opinion. Pax ended up dying as well because Sarge basically sacrificed him, and then Snowflake is still just at the base in prison, and she and Deke are together now because I don't know, just because honestly. I prefer that because it seemed like for so long that they might be trying to set up like Deke and Daisy, possibly. But at some point they went away from that and they said, now hang on one second, please. Sorry about that. Sometimes the family, they interrupt your reviews and you're like, why? But yeah, like I thought they were setting up Deke and Daisy and I was not all for that really. Like they just didn't seem to mesh very well. So now they sort of turned it into a joke where Deke thinks that Daisy wants him, and the fact that he's rich means, oh yeah, now she definitely, before I wanted her, but now she clearly wants me. But you know what? I've moved past that, and I want Snowflake now. And it came off as more of a joke than anything else, and I much prefer that rather than what they were doing before. But yeah, so all of that story was pretty interesting. Obviously, we have Fitz and Simmons. We get to see a bit more of S.H.I.E.L.D. through their eyes because, again, at first she seemed like just this kind-hearted person. I was sort of wondering, why is she being so nice to Fitz and Simmons? Why is she not controlling them? And then you come to find out, apparently she really values intelligence, and that's something that not a lot of people have, like Fitz and Simmons do. So she actually was planning to not turn them into mindless drones, but basically control them. And not in the same way, like control them as if they're working for her and not just under her control from the little bat things. So I kind of like that idea that she sort of values that sort of intelligence. It makes her more complex, in my opinion. She's not just somebody who's like, oh, everybody under my control and that's it. So yeah, I kind of like what they're doing with her story with S.H.I.E.L.D. and kind of learning more about her as well. We also do learn in this episode that Sarge is the one that's been really destroying the planets. She is apparently trying to control them. He destroys them before she can control them. So basically, what happened on Chronoma, I think was the name of their planet, Chronoma 2, or wherever the Chronicons came from, whatever happened to their planet was actually caused by Sarge to stop her whole thing from expanding and controlling the planet. So a little bit of an interesting tit for tat there almost. And again, I like what they were setting up between Sarge and S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, of course, we go to the fact that now Sarge is dead. It's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do with this because, for one, I really thought we were going to learn more about Sarge and about who he was as a character and why he and Coulson had the same DNA, looked the same, all of this stuff. I thought we were going to learn more about that. Now, obviously, we still can, but it's weird that they decided to kill him off before we learned all of this. I don't know. It seems a little strange to me that they would decide to do it. I didn't think he was going to survive, obviously, but to kill him off before we really learned anything about his past and about everything they were hinting towards, it seems kind of backwards to me. I don't know. Maybe they've got a reason for doing this first, killing him off first and then revealing who he was. But it seems like a lot of this, not really second half of the season, but after the team met Sarge and started talking to him, it felt like they were building up who he really is. And that storyline was going to be the big payoff. And now they've killed him. And so, I don't know. It seems a little weird that it almost feels like it's sort of out of order, in my opinion. So we'll see what's going on. May goes in and shoots him, and she was talking to Yo-Yo earlier about, like, I would have killed him first if I should have killed him first time I saw him. But with that being said, I don't think that May went in and shot him. So Davis, we saw, he shows up to where S.H.I.E.L.D. was with Jocko, and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s gone. Don't know where she went. And then they go back, and Davis passes out on the couch. What I think might have happened, I don't know. Obviously, we don't know much about Izel's abilities and powers. We know she created those little bats that can control, or well, not control them, but people basically become their hosts. Um, I wonder if she sort of has her own abilities like that, like she can take over people's minds or something, or she's able to go inside of people without the same like destructive tendencies that the bats have, or the Shrike, I guess I should call them. Um, so I'm wondering if like she took over Davis in that instant to get out of that situation, knowing that it would take her back to Shield, where Sarge is being held, and then she then took over May's mind and took her inside to kill. I don't know how all that works. We'll probably learn more about those abilities as we go forward. But yeah, again, just seems a little strange. But about this episode in general, though, I think my favorite part was all the good action moments. Like, just first of all, Daisy definitely showed it off in this episode, from stopping the atomic bomb using her powers, and then also just demolishing all of the Shrike that went in there. I will say it was a little goofy line. It's like, "Are all the women on this planet this powerful?" And May's like, "Yes." I'm like, well, I mean, if you're trying to make a feminist message, then sure, yes. But if you're talking about like literally, no, Quake is the most powerful person on the planet. Like, come on. But no, that was a cool scene. Jocko's sacrifice was a good scene. Honestly, I liked seeing Jocko teamed up with Yo-Yo, Mac, and Davis on the ship. Like, it was kind of a fun start. They didn't stay together the whole time, but when they were, it was pretty funny. Mac taking charge, and then Jocko instantly disobeys him by shooting a guy, and then it turns out he was right to shoot him. I don't know, just some funny moments there. And then at the end, just seeing everybody back together, it felt good. In fact, it felt so good that I was actually getting a little sick to my stomach, because I'm like, something bad's gotta happen, right? So whenever it was just May killing Sarge, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's not too bad. Honestly, I was sick to my stomach worried about Mac. Because literally, I mean, first of all, you got him and Daisy talking, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait for that debrief." She's like, "Yeah, me too." I'm like, "Oh god," and then he goes and makes up with Yo-Yo. I'm like, "Oh god, oh, please don't say you're like you're a year away from retirement or something. Like that would be the writing on the wall. That's it, Mac's done." So I don't know. It seems like they're doing those death flags. They're raising them and stuff. I don't know if they actually are, or if this is just stuff that I'm picking up on because I've seen way too many shows and movies. But that's just how I was feeling listening to their conversations. Like, "Oh yeah, it's good to be back, boss. I can't wait for that debrief. You should go talk to her. You've been staring at her for half an hour. Oh look, Yo-Yo, I can't wait to make things work. Eventually we can work things out. Oh yeah, we'll take it slow." I'm like, oh my god, stop! You're making me fear for Mac's life. Um, and of course, everything with Fitzsimmons and Deke is going to be freaking hysterical going forward. So I can't wait to see more of that. Um, I will say, just something popped in my head. This is the last thing I'll talk about. Deke. So obviously, I talked a little bit about him and Snowflake and how funny that is. I will say I was a little disappointed that he didn't do anything with the atomic bomb. Like, he tried, but he just didn't come up with anything, and then Daisy had to be the one to stop it. And I get that they're setting up for when Jocko decides to take the bomb onto the ship and use it to blow up Izel's ship. Like, that's why he wasn't able to disarm it. Um, but there was a part of me that, I don't know, like, he was being helpful, he was being useful, he wasn't just the comic relief like I was worried he was going to be when they first rescued him from his place. Um, so I don't know. I kind of like how they gave him a bit of a purpose, but then in this episode he kind of went back to just being the comic relief and not really offering a whole lot of solutions. Like he tried to disarm it, but then he didn't, and then from then on he was just sort of there. Um, so I don't know. I hope they don't just stick him into the background again and make him the comic relief again, because I do want him to have a purpose. I want him to be on here for more than just, oh, he's Fitz and Simmons' grandson, and look at all the funny jokes they're making. Ha ha, this is hysterical. Like, I want him to actually have a purpose on the team, and I feel like he does. He can have a purpose on the team. He is very smart. He is very gifted with technology. So let him do that. Don't just stick him into the joke pile and just constantly make jokes with him. Like, give him more than that. So anyway, with all that being said, that's it for these 3 episodes. Only got 4 more for the end of the season. I'm super excited to see how it ends. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these episodes? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe, future Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.